All right, it's been some time since I put up a video. I haven't put up a video on YouTube in a long time. Just been busy work, a lot of work, a lot of work. But anyway, I'm sitting out here waiting to go into this IHOP for some breakfast. So I figured I'd just use this time to share something with you guys, whoever under the sound of my voice. In terms of mental health, right? Mental health. That's something I'm studying a lot of. That's why I haven't been putting the videos. I'm working on degrees in psychology, so I've been really occupied with that. But in terms of mental health, there's something I want to share with y'all real quick. In order to overcome, like, one of the strategies to deal with anxiety and to deal with depression, both which are the offspring of some kind of underlying worry. Depression and anxiety are both offsprings. They're relatives, they're siblings that are birthed or given birth by some underlying worry. And that underlying worry is itself an image. So you're holding some kind of image in your mind, which is a mental picture. And that mental picture is usually, matter of fact, 100% of the times, it's a negative image. That's why it leads to anxiety and gives birth to depression. So in order to combat and deal with depression, they'll give you, I think it's some kind of medication. Obviously, they give you medication to deal with anxiety and depressions and all that stuff. But I've come across interesting ways to cope and to deal with that without taking any kind of, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving it. It's not a doctor, advice. I'm just sharing what I've learned, some things I've learned. So because the image is you're holding a negative image in your mind, it's in your subconscious mind, so you're not even aware of it, but it's a negative image, and that negative image is giving birth to your anxiety and to your depression. So how do you overcome this? How do you eliminate this? Well, there's something in psychology or in the computer technology world or in psychology, both worlds, there's a word that's called rendering. And that word, in terms of psychology or in terms of technology, what rendering mean is to cause something to become or to cause something to be. Programmers, those who write code, and psychologists understand that when you render something, you're causing it to become. I'm gonna say that again. When you render something, whether it's computer, technology, development, programming, or in psychology, when you render something, you're causing that thing to become. You're rendering something means you're causing it to be. To be means to come into existence. This is powerful stuff. Stay with me here. Your depression is the result of your rendering. Your rendering is caused by the mind. The mind renders. Renders mean to cause to be or to become. If you have become depressed, the mind has rendered depression. If you have become anxious, the mind has rendered anxiety. The mind renders. So whatever is in your environment, your physical environment, whatever state you may be in, if you're in a state of depression, the mind has rendered depression, has caused depression to become, which is your state that you're in. I'm telling you how the world works. The world is one big, think of life as one big computer system. Think of it from that perspective, analogous. Life is one big computer system, and you are rendering your reality every single moment. Every moment you render your reality. And remember, render means to become or cause something to be or cause something to come into existence. The mind is constantly rendering your reality. So having this knowledge, knowing that the mind is rendering your reality, if you're in depression, if you're in a state of depression, then to get out of that state, what you have to do is first understand that whatever the image is, understand what the image is that you're holding in your subconscious mind. A breakup, you went through a divorce, a bankruptcy, you lost some loss. Usually it's a loss, some kind of loss is the image, right? That's the nature of the image you're holding. It's a loss of a family member, relationship, finances, whatever. And that image that you're holding of a loss, whatever form it is the underlying model or belief pattern that the mind is rendering, causing to be in whatever your situation that you find yourself in, whether it's depression, anxiety, melancholy, fatigue. You just feel always, you just woke up from sleeping 6, 7, 8 hours and you're tired. You're biologically, you're not tired. What's happening is your mind is rendering fatigue. It's causing fatigue to be the state for you to be in. Tired, fatigued, depressed, anxious. The mind is rendering these things based off the image, the backdrop that you're holding on to. So to fix this now, to eliminate this, it's very simple. It's very simple and yet complex, right? It's put like this. It's a complex solution that we can simplify, right? Instead of looking for a complicated solution, it's a simple solution to a complex problem. There you go. It's a complicated problem and we have a simple solution. The simple solution is this. If you know the mind is rendering, then you have to feed the mind something else to render. And again, I gotta beat this. I gotta really say this every time because it's so important. This is the critical key central node to the whole thing. This is the key point. Rendering means, you got to remember what rendering means. It's ambiguous. It could also mean to submit something, render a report, right? To yield, to surrender. That's also render, to give. That's another word. That's another definition. But the definition in this context, rendering means to cause something to become, to be, or to come into existence. So the input of the loss, which is the underlying reason for your depression, you have to go and change your input, because the input is being processed and then the output is the rendering of you being depressed. See how that works? So you have to change the input. What you have to do is acknowledge what the loss is. I'm not saying to ignore it, because here's the thing, everything has a right to its existence. You and I are just guests on the planet Earth. So we can't fight. Imagine walking into this is another metaphor, analogous of this, what I'm trying to convey. Imagine walking into an art gallery. You go into the room and you don't like the way the picture is curated. You don't like the way it's organized. You have a problem with the curation of that room. You can't go and take down the picture and say it shouldn't be over here. I want it over there. You can't rearrange the way those art galleries are organized or curated. It's not your art gallery to do that. You're a guest. If you don't like the way the room is organized, the only choice you have, or only power you have, is to leave out of that room and find a room that is more suitable to your liking. That's analogous of whatever your issue is, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. It has a right to be there. Anxiety has its right to be there. Depression has everything. This is how you have to think. This is called abstract thinking. The abstract thinking is thinking outside of your 5 senses. The 5 senses of taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound. Right? 3 S's, 2 T's. Smell, sight, sound, taste, touch. Those are your 5 senses. That's how you interact with your environment. Abstract thinking is interacting with your environment outside of those 5 senses. So you're actually engaging in the environment without your 5 senses. It's called abstract thinking. It's higher, more complex way of thought processes. So everything has a right to its existence. So you can't try to beat up your depression, your anxiety. That's just going to make you more depressed and more anxious. Because you can't change the room that you walked into of the art gallery. That's not your room. It's not yours to change. You don't like it, leave and find a room that's more suitable. So it's the same, that's analogous of life, the earth. You're a guest on earth. You're a visitor on earth. You came here, you had a check-in date. Your check-in date is called your birth date. And you have a check-out date, just like when you go into a hotel. Your check-out date is called your date of death. That's your check-out date, your date of death. And in the meantime, you're visiting earth. If you don't like something, it's not your place to try to change it. Your place is to, if you don't like it, leave that room and find a room that's more suitable for you. Don't try to change the organization of the paintings in that room. So if depression is something you're fighting, or if depression is something that's attacking you,
Don't try to fight it directly because it has a right to be here. It's part of the human condition. It's part of the sins and our sufferings. Anxiety, depression. Think of anxiety and depression as just paintings on the wall of earth. You can't change those paintings. It's not your power to do so. So what you can do is select another image to be rendered. So you have to select another input. So let's say you went through a divorce, and that's what is feeding your rendering. In other words, everything you're rendering causing to be is being fed by the backdrop, the image of your divorce. You have to say to yourself, divorce has a right to be here. I can't change. What I can do is this though. I can select a different room. I can select a different, that's why Jesus says, in my Father's house there are many mansions, many mansions. You have the right to go into another room. You don't have a right to change the room itself that you find yourself in. If divorce is the room you're in, don't stay in that room and try to change it. You have to leave that room and find a room of joy. Now, by finding and going into a room of joy, what you're doing is you're selecting another image as the input for your rendering to cause to be or to cause to come into existence. This is high stuff. This is abstract thinking. This is thinking on higher planes of existence. So to battle anxiety, to battle depression, don't even battle it. Don't battle it. That's my bad for using that word. Don't even battle it. To overcome it is to select a different image that you want in your subconscious mind. Choose another picture. Choose another reality. If you're in depression, the ultimate goal, if you're in depression, the salvation to depression is joy. Just like food is the salvation to hunger. If you're starving, if you're hungry, what saves you in that what saves you? Food. Food would be the salvation to starvation. No different than happiness and joy is a salvation to depression. No different than a calm, composed and calm is the salvation to anxious and anxiety. See how that works? So if you're depressed, you have to have the mindfulness enough, the presence of mind enough to understand that I have to select joy as my input. And once your only job is to select joy. Wake up and say, I choose joy. That is that simple solution to a complex, compounded issue. But a lot of times we complicate the situation. We compound the complication of an already complicated situation when the answer is so simple. Wake up, say, I choose joy. Today I select joy. I select happiness, and leave it at that. That's your only job is to select. Once you select, just like any developer or programmer will tell you, once you submit the input to the algorithm of their subconscious mind, the algorithm, which is your subconscious mind, will find a way. It will find a way to alter your reality so you have experiences that are more in line with joy than it is with depression. See, if you're in a state of depression, then your world is going to reflect more depression. You're going to meet more depressed people. You're going to meet circumstances that's going to reinforce your depression. Everything you engage with on your day-to-day experience is going to serve to reinforce your depression, because the world only mirrors, it only reflects back to you what you're carrying in your system, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit. What you're carrying, your input, will be reinforced by your experiences. So once you select joy, that's it. Now, here's the hard part, or here's the part where make a lot of y'all say what I'm talking is foolishness. You wake up and you select joy. The minute you go out the house, your car breaks down. The minute you go out the house, you get a ticket. The minute you go out the house, your supervisor's on your back. The minute you go out the house, the dog is like, you just woke up and select joy, but you keep encountering everything but joy. Right? You missed your train. Everything, all your experiences are completely the opposite of joy. And you're like, but this guy told me to select joy. See, it's woo-woo science. It's nonsense. It's fool. That's not no. Let me explain something to you. It's very simple. It's a very simple answer. If you've been smoking cigarettes for 30 years, you don't just put a patch on your arm right? Or go to one meeting, some kind of rehab meeting, and all of a sudden you're healed. That's it. You no longer have a desire to smoke. Doesn't work that way. If you've been drinking for 40 years, you don't go to one AA meeting and then walk out and all of a sudden you have no desire to drink. Doesn't work that way. If you weigh 400 pounds and you want to lose weight, you don't go to the gym one time and all of a sudden you lose the weight and everything, you're able to fit into that dress, that clothes, that you got that body that you always, it doesn't work that way. Just like in the physical world, there's something called gradualism or eventualism, eventually, right? Or just time, patience, right? Your physical reality is always going to lag. I'm going to say this slow. Your physical reality will always lag your spiritual alterations, modifications, or spiritual changes. Your spiritual changes take place immediately. The minute you wake up in the morning and say, I select joy, that happens immediately. You have joy immediately. You have joy. But you have joy in the ethereal realm. If you're a Christian, they call it the spiritual realm. You have joy. If you wake up, the minute you select joy, immediately you have joy. Immediately. In the spirit realm, in the higher planes. But we exist in the third dimension of physicality, density. Everything down here takes time. Everything takes time. In the spirit realm, there's no such thing as time and space. But in our world, there's time and there's space. So therefore, our physical world will always lag our spiritual world or our etheric world or our quantum world, quantum realm. So when you select joy and you walk out, you're still going to encounter everything contrary to joy. Why? Because everything is still running on that old system you've been carrying for the last 30, 40 years. For 10 years, let's say 5 years, you've been walking around in a system of depression, or if not depression, just fatigued or melancholy, right? And you finally decide to change, your world has been already programmed for your previous old encryption or your old data. So now that you've selected a new installment, your new installment is going to take time. Your new installment is going to be in effect immediately. Your old reality, your job, your wife, your kids, all of that is going to take time and need time to catch up to your new installment, or better yet, to align with your new installment. So this is where this is where patience comes in. You have to remain patient and you have to remain faithful to your new installment. I choose joy. And then you have to remain faithful to that choice, that selection you made. Even though your outer world is showing you everything but joy. It's showing you everything it has been normalized. So you're still seeing and encountering all the depression, all the circumstances, all the people. You're still going to be me. It's going to take time for all those things to rearrange and shift to your new installment. So don't get discouraged if you don't see the rewards or the outcomes immediately. It takes time. But don't worry about that. Just keep true to the new installment, the new selection of joy or happiness or financial prosperity, whatever your installment is. Remain true and loyal to that in spite of what you're encountering and what you're seeing. The bills are still piling up. Misery still follows you. You're still coming across the same kind of people. That's okay. It takes time for the physical world is lagging. It lags your quantum or spiritual installment. But that does not mean the installment is not true, is not real, and is not taking place. Till next time, you be safe out there. Peace.